beautiful Husthwaite. The weather could be a bit better, but never mind. But anyways, thank you very much for coming across. We're going to talk about your Sustainable Communities Handbook, which you alerted me to via social media, which is great. It's on your Twitter account.
All over that, yeah.
Yeah, so that's great. So can you just give us some background to it?
Yeah, sure. Well, I ran a 2-year Sustainable Communities project funded by LEADER, the North York Moors Coast and Hills, LEADER funding. And that was really all to do with working with villages who wanted to work together to reduce their carbon footprint. And I worked with Husthwaite and Osmotherley and a few different villages around the North York Moors. It was quite a good project to work on, really, because people did seem keen and interested, and wanted to sort of bring people together to work towards a common goal.
How did the villagers actually, how were they chosen? Did they apply? Did you choose them? Or?
They did apply, yes.
Right.
Yeah, they applied. We put out some press releases to say, would you be interested in becoming a bit more sustainable and working on this project? And it was very much sort of a community-led thing, so whatever they wanted to do, I would be there to support that. So it might be something big, like the whole village taking part for the full 2 years, or it might be something a bit smaller, and the entrepreneur may want to just hold, say, an energy day and just work on something a bit smaller, in which case that was fine too. So it was all about sort of what the communities wanted to do. So quite a few people applied and got involved, and then some communities dropped out and some communities came into it like a year into the project. So it's quite flexible, so it's a nice project to work on. And this e-book sort of serves as a legacy for that project to show other people what these communities have done and to sort of celebrate their successes.
Right. So it's really sort of the key lessons. Perhaps you could just tell us just give us an overview of the experiences of those villages and the, sort of the high points and the low points, really, because I'm sure they were both.
Yeah, well, actually some surprising things came out of it, including, well, I think energy days are quite successful in bringing together the community. So you would hold something, say, in the village hall and make sure everybody knows about it and invite them all over to talk to local accredited installers and people who give advice about how to reduce their fuel bills, save money as well, because that seemed to be quite an important thing, as well as saving CO2 as well. And another good point that came out of it was the creation of oil clubs.
Oh, right.
Which was great, which is quite surprising as well, because I didn't go into this project thinking we'd do that. But then the Lower Swale Syndicate, Chris Owens down in Brafferton, he offered to do a presentation in Osmotherley, and Bob Hayes as well offered to do one in Husthwaite, really to tell people how it works. And that's again about people working together and to get a volunteer or two together to coordinate the orders and get that together. And they've made quite a few savings on their fuel bills, which is great, say 3p a litre.
So there was a real sort of cross-fertilisation between the communities. It wasn't just them working on their own with your support, it was actually that they could inspire each other.
Yeah, which is quite good, yeah. So I was quite lucky to be able to put people in touch with different people and sort of say, well, have you thought about this? Because this is what somebody else has done. So that was quite a nice thing to be able to do. Yeah.
So you mentioned some projects had dropped out. What was the reason behind that? Was there something that...
I think because people are very busy doing things, especially some village hall committees. They've already got quite a few things to do and some pressures on them as well to get going, and they've already got commitments. So, people that really wanted to take part didn't quite feel that they were ready to, perhaps, or didn't quite have the support from the rest of the community to be able to go forwards. So we had like an initial thing and then sort of maybe petered out a bit again. So I think that was quite the main thing, really, of why people...
Well, that leads me on to sort of asking then, well, what are the key elements in making a successful project? It's obviously people.
Yes.
Skilled people.
Yeah, if possible, yeah. I mean, for instance, in Osmotherley, Husthwaite, these sorts of communities, there is a large skill set within these villages, which is fantastic. So it is about people, and people just willing to go for it, try some things out, see what works, see what doesn't work. And it's interesting to see whether you need an existing group. So you might have a group that maybe hasn't worked on a sustainable project but might have been working on something else, and they want to try a new challenge together. So that might be something to do. or it might be individuals already interested in sustainable and then things, and then bringing people together. So it's interesting to see how sort of both of those ways work. Because sometimes you do need a community group at first. I think that's sort of the main reason that these things sort of can happen.
Yeah, so I mean, I would have thought that it was mostly sort of good greenies who were coming together to work on this, but you're saying actually no, there might be some who were just. I mean, I suppose saving money is a big. Everyone wants to save money, don't they?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a big drive. I think you can sort of put them hand in hand, really, and say, there's so many different benefits, and why not try it? Things like insulation, which may not seem very exciting, but if you get a few of your neighbours to go for it, and to say, well, I have saved money on my fuel bills. Sometimes that's hard to calculate, but sometimes you can see, well, with the rising prices, sometimes it just makes sense to insulate as much as you can, and even think about difficult ways of insulating, like internal wall insulation. I know Husthwaite members have been trying to do that.
It's very difficult with old houses like you have in Husthwaite, isn't it?
Yeah, very difficult. That's a big issue, I think, for places like the Moors, is having these houses. And you don't want to change the appearance of them, particularly because they look so lovely. So I suppose internal wall insulation is a way forwards.
Yeah.
So some tricky things to tackle.
So the project itself is, in terms of your support, and it's over now. It's ended, is it?
It is, unfortunately,
right.
Yes. That 2 years went very quickly.
Right, but the handbook is the legacy, as you say. Can you just talk us through the handbook and how people can access it?
Sure. Yes. Well, it's an online resource, so you can get it from the Yorkshire Energy Partnership's website. You can print it out and things as well if you need, and it's really sort of saying, it's a bit of a step-by-step guide really of how to go about creating your own energy project. So saying how to set up a group, how to get in touch with your neighbours, how to bring people together, and the different ways that it has actually worked in the past as well. So we've used real-life examples of how it's worked in other communities. And it talks about how to do your own energy day, how to set up your own oil club, you haven't done already, and it has some template documents as well. So it has a poster template for you to advertise your energy day, and it also has an action plan template. So if you wanted to really go for it and really do sort of a nice big project, it has just a simple template for you to fill in and sort of really organise your thoughts and ideas and things like timescales and who can get involved. Sort of putting that all down on paper to see if that helps. May not help, but
I'm sure it does. I mean, I've had a look at it. I just think for any group who are starting off from scratch, I think it's a huge help, because it just takes out of those sort of endless brainstorming sessions, and it gives you a sort of starting off point to go forth. I think it's excellent.
Yes, I really hope so. And it's got signposts to different organisations as well, like Rural Action Yorkshire as well, who works with rural communities. Centre for Sustainable Energy, who are really interested in communities working on energy projects, and of course the company I work for as well, Yorkshire Energy Partnership.
Well, I was going to ask you about that now, because what's your role? Okay, the project's finished, but are you interested to know if other people are using the handbook and setting forth, even though you might be limited to how
I think very interested, because even though technically I'm not funded to do that project anymore, at least I know of people who are still working on it in their own village, so perhaps I can still act as a point of contact to put people in touch, which hopefully will be useful, because Yorkshire Energy Partnership is the leading sustainability company in North Yorkshire. We're owned and supported by the different local authorities, and we work on things like insulation projects and stuff with the councils. So if anyone wants to look into some free insulation, they're more than welcome to get in touch.
Well, tell us about that now, because it's great, we've covered that, and we'll put a link on the posting on the blogs to the handbook, so that'll be really easy for people to find. So tell us about your latest project then.
Yes, well, I'm working on a schools project, working with North Yorkshire County Council to see how we can get school buildings insulated, ready for the cold weather, and hopefully preventing things like frozen pipes that can lead to burst pipes and schools being shut down, losing money for the schools. So this is sort of a preventative measure to try and insulate tanks, pipes, cavity walls if they have them, roof void spaces as well. So I'm working on that to act again as a go-between between sort of council, schools, asbestos surveys, insulation surveys. So I'm working on that at the moment, which is quite good. And we do have a few new projects as well, which is quite exciting, like the Northern Renewables Network, where we work with lots of different local accredited renewable installers. So if people do want to invest or look into at least things like heat pumps, solar panels, things like that, they can get in touch with us, and then we can put them in touch with an accredited installer to get some quotes and see if it's right for them.
And what's the sort of funding grant situation with both of those kind of projects at the moment? Is it pretty dire, I imagine?
Well, it's quite. There's a few pockets of funding still left.
Are there?
Just sort of in general terms for insulation, things like loft insulation is free now through the energy companies. So if you come to us, then we can just put people in touch with installers. You can usually do this thing for free now.
Right.
Or if not, you get a free survey first anyway, so you'll know before you go ahead whether it's free or not, and you can still say no if you want to do
Right,
of course.
right.
So that's sort of like a blanket start. And then in terms of renewables as well, there's the renewable heat premium payment still going. It's in its phase 2 now. So if you wanted to put in a heat producing technology, so solar hot water, heat pumps, you can get some money off towards the installation, which can help as well. And you could even look at, again, this project, it shows that sometimes bulk buying can help as well. So if you know of a few
Communities
people
coming together.
Yeah, maybe if you know a few people wanted a heat pump, there might be a way of going to one installer and getting some money off if they can do all 5 of them or whatever. Again, working together I think can help with funding as well, as we've seen with the savings in oil. When you all buy it all together, that sort of bulk buying thing can sort of have a bit power back, I think, to the communities, which is quite good.
So would you say, just to sort of conclude then, looking at a village like Huswick, would you say that lots of things have evolved from the initial idea of what they were going to do? I mean, we parked our cars outside the village hall. Perhaps you could sort of mention that it's a kind of it evolves, doesn't it? It starts off with one thing and then you get some success and it goes from there.
That's it, yeah, it's great because it really sort of captures people's interest as well, because it's a nice feeling to be able to be saving the planet and things like that. It's a nice feeling as well as saving some money, and people here do seem to be very interested, and especially the Village Hall Committee, who have written a funding bill to Big Lottery, which is quite a complicated procedure, you can't take it lightly. Yeah. And they've got through to stage 3, which is fantastic. So they're waiting now to see...
For an eco-village hall.
An eco-village hall, which is fantastic, to be sustainably heated, to be built from sustainable materials, recycling, rainwater harvesting, maybe even solar panels on top. They've really, really thought about it and got the whole community involved as well to get everybody's opinions, and people want to see, this lovely new village hall, because even though the village hall is great at the moment, you can't help but notice the dips in the roofs. I think something does need to be done about it, unfortunately. So, and they want to use it as like a beacon for something that really works in a rural setting. Yeah. So it's a fantastic project. It's another new project that Yorkshire Energy Partnership is working on is for businesses. It's called Investors in the Environment, and it's for businesses who wish to work towards an accredited scheme to just really show their clients, their customers, that they do care about the environment, and they do look into things like the way that how they purchase their raw materials and how they use their energy and how they want to cut down on their energy use as well. So it sort of helps businesses get ahead of the game, as it were, with things like that. So they can get in touch with us, and we can work with them to sort of work towards this green accreditation.
And is this your own bespoke accreditation, or is part of a national accreditation?
It's actually, it originally comes from the Peterborough model, which started off, and it's quite successful down there, so we brought it up here to see if it would work sort of in this area as well. So there's quite a few businesses signed up already, and it's quite good as well for networking. So it puts businesses in touch with each other, and they put on free events as a part of this service as well. And you can either work towards the bronze awards: bronze level, silver, or green.
Right, yeah, very good, yeah.
Green level, and we've got lots of different businesses sort of working. So large or small, you don't need to be this huge company to be part of it. You can just be involved and get in touch with other businesses and sort of learn from them and see how they do it. And of course, it's all about saving money, of course, as well. If you can save in your raw materials, save in your waste disposal, then that helps your business as well.
So you said, large and small. What about your sort of, because obviously we live in a very sort of touristy area, what about sort of small business, small hotels, small B&Bs? Is it aimed at them as well? Or?
I think it can definitely work with
Yeah.
them as well. Yeah, it's quite good because we can sort of work to what people need as well, and what sort of their interests are and what they're sort of interested in. Of course, tourism I think is quite a good thing in terms of green. I think people like the idea of staying in a
Absolutely,
hotel,
yeah.
and that's get that quite often. So I think that's quite a good reason to.
And is there quite a lot of work involved in being part of the accreditation scheme? Lots of paperwork, or is it fairly?
It's not as bad as some of the international awards, which
Right.
is quite good. So even though this isn't as well known as the international awards, it doesn't cost as much, and there's not a lot of work either.
Yeah.
So it has its advantages in that. Obviously, if you wanted to work towards the international accreditation, then that's fantastic. But if you just wanted to start off and do something a bit smaller, and just sort of have a feeler and see what you
Right.
can do, it's quite a good way of starting as well, I think. So.
And all the details are on your website?
Yeah, that's right, yes. So if you wanted to check that out and see if it's for you, that'd be great.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you very much for coming to beautiful Husthwaite, Eco Village, beacon of the future. Thank you very
Always
much.
a pleasure.
Yeah, it's great. And for telling us all about your projects.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.